And a former resident of Yarmouk says it is a constant challenge just to remain alive in that place. Salim Salama is the head of the Palestinian League for Human Rights. Joins us now from Sweden, where he lives in exile. Good to see you, Salim. Just for those who don't know, what is it like for the civilians, the ordinary Palestinian refugee, if you like, who is living in Yarmouk?
Hi, Michael. In fact, as a matter of fact, I would like first to highlight that Yarmouk is one of 7 neighborhoods that are located in the besieged southern sector of Damascus. Yeah. Therefore, so it is a siege within a siege. Life today is a constant challenge, as you have just said. In order to access food, you have to do a lot. You have to walk 6 kilometers in total. Both ways in order to reach Yalda, the closest neighborhood, where you might get food and you might not, of course. Depends on the distribution and also the accessibility of the road, which is disconnected and full of checkpoints for different factions, from the far Islamists to the Syrian opposition, beside the daily and indiscriminate bombardment of the Syrian regime, which did not stop since the siege started in July 2013.
So how difficult is it for people there to avoid the conflict? It seems that, you know, you could turn down the wrong street and encounter an entirely different group as the front lines move.
There is totally no avoidance of the conflict. You're sort of normalizing with the fact that this moment you are alive, but the next moment you are not going to be alive. And this is the case of thousands of people on a daily basis who do not have access to any of the necessities of for their daily life. So there is no guarantee that you are going to remain alive.
Yeah, and it's called a refugee camp, but I mean that's really not right. It's not a refugee camp per se. It's like in other places, Lebanon springs to mind, where these are really cities where people have lived in some cases for generations, right?
Indeed, indeed. 3 generations at least of Palestinian refugees inhabited Yarmouk, which used to be a vibrant economic and culture hub of Damascus, the capital. But this is way before the siege starts 2 years ago, and 2 years ago exactly, and way before April, ISIS assault on Yarmouk and the use of the indiscriminate barrel bombs, above 100 barrel bomb by the Syrian regime, which rendered the area into totally a wasteland.
And when you look at the pictures in Fred's report, and we are right now looking at some of that video, and the utter destruction in parts of Yarmouk, I mean, it must be heartbreaking apart from anything else. But what do you think's going to happen ultimately to Yarmouk, to your former home?
I think, Michael, the horrific pictures are yet to be seen, because what we have seen is basically the front line of Yarmouk. We haven't seen inside Yarmouk, where medications are totally prohibited from entering Yarmouk since 2 years, where kids are malnutritioned, and where people have no access to any of their daily life need. No electricity since 3 years. So basically, I think the question of the prospect is to be answered by different players in this conflict, but also by the different UN agencies and the international community, which failed gravely in seizing the opportunity by making Yarmouk an example of how political deals can be achieved. You see, since April, we have been calling as Palestinian civil society and the human rights groups for a safe passage in both directions, monitored internationally, in order to, especially by since Stefan de Mistura is a president in Damascus, and Yarmouk has been in the headlines since months. Right. But unfortunately, nothing was achieved. And people have been demonstrating since 1 week in Yarmouk to object the reclassification of their neighborhood as non-besieged by UN as well.
Yeah, it's a microcosm of a much broader conflict, of course, but it is a case that is heartbreaking when you look at the utter devastation and the individuals there uninvolved who suffer. Salim Salama, head of the Palestinian League for Human Rights, joining us there from Sweden, where you're living in exile. We appreciate you coming on the program. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark.